Hey guys, Zypra here and welcome to today's video, which is my Resto Druid preview. It's going to be covering the talents and the PvP talents for Legion. None of this is final, this is just based on my ideas with the information that I have available to me. So without further ado, the video will begin, so please sit back and enjoy. Hey guys, it's Zypra here, and welcome to the next video, which is going to be my Resto Druid, I guess, talent preview for Legion. So without further ado, I'm going to begin. I will be doing the calculator, and I will also be doing the PvP one. So I'll be able to go over both and try and go through all the talents that I think you're going to be taking, having a first look. So in the tier 15. In the tier 15 talent build, it looks like I'm probably going to go for Germination, but I'm going to go through the others anyway, see if any of them make me change my mind. So here we've got Verdant Growth, and it increases the critical strike chance of your regrowth by 40%. So that's pretty much like the glyph currently of Warlords of Draenor, which is a glyph that most people seem to go for at the moment. I've opted to go for the double dispel instead at the moment, but it is quite a useful glyph as well. And then we've got Cenarian Ward as well, which protects a friendly target for 30 seconds, and when they take damage, it will consume the ward and then it heals the target for a certain amount. In this case it says 879.9% of spell power over 6 seconds. So that's up an extra second from what it is currently, because currently it's about 5 seconds. And it's on a 30-second cooldown, so it's not a bad talent to go for, but personally I'm still going to go for Germination, because Druids being very reliant on HOTS, having 2 rejuvenations on the same target is very helpful, and it's the go-to talent currently, and I still feel like it's going to be the go-to talent. So on to tier 30, we got the Renewal, which instantly heals the Druid for 30%, and you can use it in all shapeshift forms. You got Displace a Beast, which means you can basically blink forward, and you got a sprint for 50% for 4 seconds as well. And then you've got Wild Charge. Wild Charge is very versatile, but Displace a Beast is a lot easier to get away and kite with, so I'm going to go for the Displace a Beast again this time. Okay, so the Balance Affinity, increase the range of all abilities by 5 yards, and you'll also learn a few of these abilities: Moonkin Form, Star Surge, and Lunar Strike. Nice talent. Increasing the ability of the heals, HOTS and that kind of thing by 5 yards is quite nice, but I don't know if it will mount up to the other 2 which we have here. Feral Affinity, you gain Feline Swiftness, increase your movement speed by 15%. You also learn Shred, Rip, Ferocious Bite and Swipe. I think Feral Affinity would probably be the go-to, as I think the movement speed would be very beneficial for kiting. But what's the Guardian one got to offer? Okay, Thick Hide reduces damage taken by 10%, and you'll also learn Growl, Mangle, Fresh, Iron Fur, and Frenzied Regeneration. Okay, the damage reduction is nice, but I feel like the movement speed would probably be a bit better. Being able to kite. I mean, if it's a comp like Turbo Cleave, for example, you might want to go for the Guardian Affinity, but I feel like the Feral Affinity is better purely just for the movement speed, as it's going to make it a lot more effective for you to kite in all forms, which I think probably help out just a bit more than the other 2. I feel like priority wise it would be Feral Affinity, then Guardian Affinity, then Balance Affinity. And that was the tier 45 build, I guess. So on to tier 60. We got the Mighty Bash, which means you stun them basically for 5 seconds. You got Mass Entanglement, which roots your target in place for 20 seconds, and it gets all nearby enemies as well. And damage breaks the roots. So it's an alright one for if you're against like Turbo and that kind of thing. Typhoon, summon a Violent Typhoon. Yep. So knocking the person back and then dazing them for 6 seconds. So that'd be good for Blade's Edge, that kind of thing. Mass Entangle would be good against Turbo on Ruins of Lordaeron or any map, for example. but Mighty Bash is also good. Personally, I would take Mighty Bash, but arena dependent, I would have to swap it to either Typhoon or Mass Entangle should it be required, but I'm going to stick with Mighty Bash for now. On the tier 75 one, we have Soul of the Forest. When you cast Swiftmend, you gain Soul of the Forest. Soul of the Forest increases the healing from your next regrowth or rejuvenation by 200%, or increases the healing of your next wild growth by 100%. I really like Soul of the Forest right now. Incarnation Tree Alive. Increases healing done by 15%, increases armor by 120%, and granting immunity to polymorph. Functionality of rejuvenation, wild growth, regrowth, and entangling roots is enhanced. Okay, so they're saying the abilities are enhanced, but they're not actually saying what they do. So they're not saying that the regrowth's instant again, or the regrowth does such and such more healing, so I'm not too sure about that one right now. So I'm going to have to go Soul of the Forest at the moment. Cultivation. When rejuvenation heals a target below 50%, it applies cultivation to the target, healing them for 108.4% spell power of 6 seconds. Okay, so that does sound quite good. Obviously it sounds like it's an extra hot, which may take priority over Soul of the Forest, but as to how strong it's going to be, I am not too sure. Okay, that's a tough one, because Soul of the Forest is really good, but Cultivation, it doesn't say there's a cooldown on it. So anytime a target's below 50% health, it's going to apply that. This is actually a really tough one on the tier 75. Oh gosh. I feel like it might have to be. I feel like it has to be Soul of the Forest, because although Cultivation is good, healing them for a bit extra for 6 seconds, Soul of the Forest is 200% more, and it's technically only on a 15-second cooldown because of Swiftmend. So I feel like Soul of the Forest with 200% increased heal is probably a lot better. It'd be a bit like a really strong Unleash Life currently for a Resto Shaman. So I still feel like Soul of the Forest is the go-to, but until it's tested, I can't tell which is going to be better, Soul of the Forest or Cultivation. Cultivation does sound like a really, really good talent, but at the moment to me, Soul of the Forest sounds better. So we'll have to see how it turns out when these abilities are able to be tested. Also need to be able to test Incarnation, because I'm not too sure what it actually does. But currently we're going with Soul of the Forest, but Cultivation does sound like it would be very viable, and I'm not ruling it out at all, as it is a very nice looking talent. Okay, so on to the tier 90. We have Prosperity. Reduce the cooldown of Swiftmend by 5 seconds, and it now has 2 charges. Wow! So Soul of the Forest every 10 seconds if we take this talent. They could actually go almost hand in hand. That's actually really good. Having 2 charges on Swiftmend is sounding really, really OP, because obviously Swiftmend is a key cooldown for us. Okay, on to the next one. It's Inner Peace. Reduce the cooldown of Tranquility by 60 seconds. That will bring it down to, I believe, 2 minutes. That's a lot of a short. Well, it's like quite a bit shorter, but Tranquility is not. Well, I don't use Tranquility often in Arena, so I don't feel like it'd be a very good one to go for. But I can see Inner Peace being good for PvE, but I don't think it's going to be good for PvP unless you're against a comp like Boomkin Lock, for example, where it's going to be pretty much all dot related. So I don't think Inner Peace is one that we'd go for. On to Profusion. When you have Rejuvenation active on 3 or more targets, the cast time of your Healing Touch spell is reduced by 30%. Now that does sound good, and having a reduced healing touch would be nice, but keeping rejuvenation of 3 targets and everything at one time and all that is, I mean, it's a lot of work. It's not impossible, but it is a lot of work. I just feel like 2 Swift Mens is going to be really OP. Having them on 10 seconds each as well, I feel like Prosperity really has to be the go-to for the tier 90 talent. On to tier 100, we have Moment of Clarity. Your Omen of Clarity now affects the next 3 regrowths. So the next 3 regrowths would cost no mana at all. That does sound quite nice. Stonebark reduces the cooldown of Ironbark by 15 seconds, and it increases the healing from your healing over time effects by 20%. I think Stonebark might actually take it. Stonebark is looking really nice right now. Flourish. Extend the duration of all your heal over time effects on friendly targets within 60 yards by 10 seconds. Okay, okay, so it's nice to be able to extend the duration of the healing over time effects by 10 seconds, but it's on a minute cooldown, so I don't really feel like that's going to be as good as Stonebark being reduced by 15 seconds. If it's on 30-second cooldown like it currently is, I think it's currently on a 30-second cooldown. Anyway, no matter what the cooldown is, it's quite short, like Barkskin. So reducing it by an extra 15% and increasing the healing from your healing over time effects by 20%, I really feel like that's the go-to for this one here. But yeah, so there's some really nice and really hard talents on here, but I feel like just based on what we're being told on this website, these are the talents that I'd go for. But obviously with a bit of testing, Soul of the Forest might end up being worse than Cultivation, Prosperity might end up being worse than Profusion or Inner Peace, and Flourish might end up being better than Stonebark, but for now, that's what I'm going with right here. So onto the PvP talents now. So of course, there's all these again, and the Gladiator's Medallion is going to be the Legion Trinket. Adaptation just is basically a trinket for a CC that's longer than 5 seconds, and it's a 1.5 minute cooldown. Not very beneficial, I don't think, and I probably won't be going for that. And then Relentless is nice, reducing the cooldown of all crowd control effects by 25%. But really, as a Druid, you're going to need an out, which means you're going to have to go for the Gladiator's Medallion. But Relentless would be quite good for a DK, because DKs already have a lot of outs with like Icebound Fortitude, and they can avoid some CCs like Cyclone of Sheep with their AMS. So I feel like Relentless would be quite a nice one for them to go for, but then again they may need the Gladiator's Medallion as well. So that was tier 1. On to tier 2, we have Defender of the Week. After healing a target below 50% health, you gain 20% haste for 5 seconds. Now, if haste is the top priority stat, like Warlords of Draenor right now, then Defender of the Week's looking really strong. Vim of Vigor, while you're above 80% health, your healing is increased by 20%. I'd assume that'd mean the direct heals and the healing over time as well. So Vim of Vigor looks quite nice, but if you're going to get trained, then it's not really that beneficial. I mean, if you're against a dot comp as well, it's going to reduce, obviously going to take your health below 80%. So that might not be a good one to go for. It just depends how the comps are going about killing you off in the next expansion. But how I predict it is Cleaves are going to go for the healer, you, and Wizards are going to be able to just truck someone down really fast, I think. And then there's the dampening comps like LSD2 and that kind of thing, and you won't really be above 80%. So I don't feel like Vim Vigor right now is going to be very good, but it could be. With a bit of testing, we'll soon know if it's going to be any good or not. And then we've got Inner Renewal. Healing yourself directly will refund 50% of the spell's mana cost. Now, I'm not sure how crucial in Legion mana is actually going to be. Same with this one here. Moment of Clarity would be good if you're going to go but I'm not too sure how the mana is going to play out in this expansion. So currently, I want to go with Defender of the Week, based on the fact that haste is currently the main priority for Resto Druid, A target being below 50% and getting 20% haste for 5 seconds. That sounds really, really good. So right now, I'm going to go with Defender of the Week. Okay, so on to tier 3, we've got Disentanglement. Healing Touch removes all snare effects from the target. It's probably, well no, it is a lot quicker just to take 2 dispels, if that's still possible, and remove the snare effect like that without casting Healing Touch. As Healing Touch is quite a long casted spell and not used really that often, so I don't feel like that's a very good talent, but obviously I could be proved wrong with a bit of testing for Legion. Gift of the World. Mark of the World also increases the target's stamina by 10%. That's a tough one, because I don't really feel like stamina is going to be a big deal, but maybe it will be a big deal in Legion. So right now I don't feel like that's the strongest one to go for. All of the ones on the tier 3 currently I don't feel like are very good talents so far, because I don't feel like stamina would be a big deal, and that's just too long for removing a snare effect, it really is. So I don't feel like either of these two are very good right now. And then there's Shape Mender. Each time you activate a shapeshift form, you are healed for 5% of your maximum health. This effect cannot occur more than once every 5 seconds. So none of these I don't really feel are great, like great, but being able to get healed as you change form, to run away and kite and that kind of thing, I feel like maybe Shape Mender will be the best. Getting a 5% heal is better than getting no heal at all, right? So onto the tier 4 talents. We have Prickling Thorns. When your entangling roots or cyclone is removed, dispelled, or ends, the target will take 100k damage. Wow. Wow, that's crazy. That could actually be quite good. To me, Prickling Thorns is a bit like a Warlock's Unstable Affliction. They put the Unstable Affliction on the target. If it's dispelled, the healer gets silenced and takes around 100k damage. So obviously Prickling Thorns isn't quite as good, but I think there's probably potential for that, because if you're getting off a lot of roots or a lot of cyclones, having the cyclones MD'd, then the target's going to take 100k damage. That's quite a lot of damage, especially if it's going to be on the target that it's dispelled from. Then they're going to take a lot of damage. So for example, it's also when it ends. So you're going to be cycloning quite a lot really in arena, so they're going to be taking 100k damage every single time. And if you get the third cyclone off with the DR of like 0.5 seconds or whatever it is, I'm not too sure of the exact number, then they're just going to take 100k damage. You could do 300k damage kind of fast with cyclone. They can't receive heals. That's wow. That's ridiculous. If the health's at around 300k in the expansion, you've practically killed them. So yeah. So if there's a Shadow Priest, they disperse. You full cyclone them, and then it ends, and their dispersion's ended. They just die because they're low health already. That could be quite a good talent. What have we got here? Crescent Burn. Using Moonfire on a target already afflicted by Moonfire's damage over time effect deals 35% additional damage. As a Resto Druid, I don't really feel like that's going to be a very good talent really to go for. So there's not really much more I can say about that. It's just Moonfire. I don't really feel like it's going to be a big deal for Resto Druid. And 35% additional damage, although that's quite a lot, I don't really feel like it's going to be the talent to go to. And then there's Razor Thorns. Sprout Thorns causing 300% spell power. Nature damage to attackers when hit lasts 15 seconds and replaces Thorns. 12% of mana for that. That's quite a lot of mana. But then again, it all depends really on how the Razor Thorns actually do with damage. So that's got a 45-second cooldown as well, actually. Right now, once again, until it's been tested, I feel like it's Prickling Thorns the one to go for here. So moving on to tier 5, we have Nourish. Reduce the cast time of Healing Touch by a second and automatically applies Rejuvenation. So I assume Nourish is going to be an ability coming back into the game. So it seems as if Blizzard are kind of unpruning the game and bringing back abilities which they originally removed from the game. But Nourish seems to be working differently from what I remember. It's been a while since I actually saw it. But automatically applying Rejuvenation, that could be a big deal. I mean, if it's an ability, it depends what the cooldown is. If it's like passive or whatever, then Healing Touch being reduced by a second every time, making it like a 1.5 second cast, is kind of nice. And applying Rejuvenation when you use, I believe, the Healing Touch as well. That'd be nice if it's a passive, but I'm not too sure what it is yet, so I'm gonna have to kind of leave it in the middle right now. And then there's Revitalize. When targets with your Rejuvenation are hit by a melee crit, they will be healed for, I guess that's 200% of spell power, or one lot of 200% of spell power, I guess, and the duration of Rejuvenation will be refreshed. Now that's quite nice. If you're against Turbo Cleave or something like that, Revitalize I think is definitely the one to take. But against like wizards, being like Shatterplay with the Shadow Priest and the Frost Mage, Revitalize is just going to be absolutely useless as they're not melee. So that's a situational talent, that one. But it's really good if you're against Turbo and that kind of thing. It doesn't say there's a cooldown or anything on it, so I can imagine that against Turbo and maybe even against RMD being kind of strong. And then there's Fortified Bark. Targets with your Iron Bark take 25% reduced chance to be critically hit. Now that's nice. I feel like that's probably the go-to, because having a 25% reduced chance to be crit is quite a big deal, and it's a talent for Bark Skin at the moment, which most people are taking. Most druids are taking that right now. I know for a fact that I'm taking fortified. Well, not fortified bark, but the current one for bark skin. I think it's Glyph of Bark Skin. So I feel like fortified bark is the one to go for. Until we've been given more information, I can't be sure if Nourish is going to be good or not. Revitalize I can see being really good against melee cleaves, but right now I'm going to have to go fortified bark purely just because I need a bit more information on Nourish. So that's the tier 5 one, and last but not least we're going to be on to the tier 6 one, and Focused Growth. Your Life Bloom also applies Focused Growth to the target, increasing Life Bloom's healing by 15%, stacks up to 3 times. So if you were to Life Bloom someone, I guess 3 times, they'd get 3 loads of Focused Growth, which means the healing would be increased by 45%. That's a big deal. If that counts for the expiry as well with Life Bloom, then that's just going to be absolutely crazy. So I can see that being a really good talent. Early Spring. Wild Growth is now an instant cast. So they're kind of, I mean, they're talenting it, but they're looking to bring Wild Growth back to an instant cast, as it used to be. So I can't really see that being great. I mean, an instant Wild Growth is quite nice, but I feel like Focused Growth is actually a lot stronger than Early Spring right now. But until we see the power of Wild Growth, we can't really be too sure if Early Spring's going to be good or not. I mean, I guess the same with this as well, because if Life Bloom gets a huge nerf, then it could just be that Early Spring could be the better one to go for. But on the last bit here we have Overgrowth. Instantly applies Regrowth, Life Bloom, Rejuvenation and Wild Growth to the target, and it's on a 45-second cooldown. That's quite nice. If all the hots expired off, you'd be able to use that to quickly get all the hots back onto a target, so you don't fall behind too much with your healing. So okay, this is kind of a tricky one really. I feel like it's between Focus Growth and Overgrowth. But I just feel like Focus Growth might actually take it because there's no cooldown on it, and you can increase Life Bloom's healing by about 45%. That's quite a big deal. I mean, I know Overgrowth makes it a bit easier to apply Regrowth, a Life Bloom, a Rejuve, and a Wild Growth to the target, and I can see Overgrowth being quite a good talent to go for really, being able to instantly get up all those hots. But I feel like right now Focus Growth will be a lot better, having a Life Bloom healing for Having Life Bloom healing for 45% more potentially is quite a big deal. But then again, if a target swaps, or if your enemy team swaps target a lot, then I don't feel like you'll get as much out of focus growth as you potentially could do. But I still feel like you'd get more use out of focus growth than you would maybe overgrowth, purely just because it's on a 45-second cooldown. But once again, until everything's been tested on the alpha or beta when it becomes available, then we're not going to know for sure. I mean, I won't know till I've tried it, right? But going by what we're given right now, I feel like this is the talent I'm going to go for, purely just because, well, purely based on the information that I'm able to read here. I feel like Overgrowth does really have the potential to be a good talent, but until I know how Focus Growth is going to play out, I can't really say too much about Overgrowth, because I feel like Focus Growth would be better than Overgrowth, but I could be proved wrong. And there's a lot of room for change before the game's actually released. So obviously when it gets tested out, when the feedback comes through, some of these talents might be changed, but based on sort of a first preview, this is what I'd go for. So with that being said, the next video will be me covering the Balanced Druid talents and the PvP talents. So stay tuned for that if you're a Boomkin looking for a bit of help with the Boomkin talents. I will give my first preview on it in probably about 2 days time, I think. Give this video time for people to have a little look, have a little think about it, and gives me time to get ready to work on the Boomkin video. I mean, I try and get it out as fast as I can, the Boomkin video, but that will be the next one in line anyway. And I don't want to ramble too much and bore you now that the video is pretty much over, but I'd just like to thank you for watching, and if you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you've got anything you'd like to add, or any way I can improve the video, please leave it in the comments section. And if you want to see more videos from me, or you want to stay tuned for the Balanced Druid preview, then please hit the subscribe button. I really do appreciate it, and it just helps me to know that I'm making videos that are enjoyed by you guys. So thank you so much for watching, take care, and bye for now.